What's going on, guys? I'm here in Breckenridge, Colorado, and it's been an absolutely beautiful week here. And I actually rented a Tesla Model Y, you can see right behind me, from Hertz Rent-A-Car, because I wanted to see how the whole experience with renting a Tesla is. So in this video, I just want to talk to you about my experience when I reserved the car, when I picked it up, how that process went, and more importantly, what are some things that Hertz can do to really help out a new EV driver. And even me, I'm an experienced Tesla owner already now for the past close to a year. There's some things that I wish that they would have done to even help and assist me. Anyways, if you're new to my channel, my name is Anastasio. I'm a family of 5. I have 3 kids. I have a 2022 Model Y Performance, so I do a lot of my documentation and journey here on the channel. So if you guys are interested, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. All right, the first thing we'll talk about is actually reserving the Model Y. Now, when you reserve a car on normal, car rental websites, you pick a more of a class, whether it's going to be a midsize, a compact, SUV. But when I reserved the Model Y, there actually was a section that said reserve a E9 Model Y. So I was like, okay, cool, for sure. Hit that button and reserved it. But the weird thing is that when I got the confirmation email, it did say you will get or try to get you a Model Y or something similar. So now for me, that was concerning because one of the main reasons why I wanted to come out here was also to rent the Model Y. I wanted to test it out in snow, but what would they put me in? Would they put me in a non-EV? Would they put me in something else? So I was confused about that. So I called when I made the reservation and I said, hey, can I confirm that there's gonna be a Model Y there? And they did. Luckily enough, they did. But it just did concern me that they said on the website, similar to. Next one to do is talk about facility. Now, luckily enough, I'm here in Colorado, and the facility is pretty much brand new. So the Hertz building and all the rent-a-car areas, you can see all the Teslas, you can see all the cars around. Everything's pretty new. So as far as facility goes, that was actually a really good experience. It was a pretty seamless in and out transaction that we had to do. The one thing I did not like is that when Hertz picks you up from the airport, they pick you up in a shuttle, and then they shuttle you to Hertz where you actually have to get your car. And then they didn't mention anything, but the very first drop-off was for gold members only. Now, they didn't say that. So when everyone got off the van or the shuttle, everyone got off, everyone walks into the building assuming that this is where you're gonna go, and everyone goes to the front desk and says, okay, I'm here to pick up my car. And they're like, are you a gold member? And they're like, no. Well, you have to go to the other building. And we're like, why didn't the driver or someone tell us this? So we had to get all our stuff again and then walk a couple 100 feet away. But just one little thing, the Hertz driver just had to say, if you're a gold member, please exit here. If you're not a gold member, stay on the shuttle, we'll go to the next building. That's all they had to do. But literally, I wasn't the only one. There was probably about 6 or 7 other of us that had the same experience. All right, the third thing we'll talk about is the prep for your car. Now, when you reserve the Tesla on their website or on the website, Hertz will send you some emails that says, hey, we're looking forward to your upcoming rental. Here's some things you need to know, which was really good. I'll give that to them. They sent out a list about 6 different things that you should know about your Tesla: how to lock and unlock it, how to put it into drive, how to do basic charging and things like that. Now, even though I have a car, those are great. However, I still think that there's a lot more that's needed to that than just an email with a checklist. Because if this is your very first time getting into a Tesla, everything is different. Everything, the experience is different. You're using a screen, and just talking about the charging system is different. I mean, everything is completely different than a regular traditional car. So that experience, assuming that someone can feel comfortable getting into the car with just an email checklist, I think that just definitely wasn't enough to help a new driver. The one thing I would suggest to Hertz is that you are going to need to up your staff in general. Now, Hertz was the very first one to make the huge order. I think they got about 50,000 Teslas delivered, 50 to 60,000 delivered to Hertz of Teslas back in 2022. They ordered 100,000. They said they're going to even order more, which is great. I love the fact that the rental car companies are giving us these options. They're giving us these options to rent these cars. However, they also, in my opinion, because this transition from ICE cars to EV cars is still happening and we're still at the very, very beginning stages of it, they need somebody there to actually walk people through the basic setups. How to do this, how to look for your superchargers, how to put it in drive, where your wipers are, all those basic things. They just need to kind of go through that, especially charging. What am I getting? How do I charge it? A lot of people, this is their very first experience with an EV. They need somebody there to just say, hey, do you need a quick rundown? Let me give that to you. Yes, I understand it's more staff, but you know what? If you're making this huge transition over into EVs, and Hertz was one of the first ones to do it, then you have to also take that in consideration. Staff up, get 1 or 2 or 3 people to walk somebody new that's to the space of electric vehicles, walk them through the basics. It'll probably take about 5 or 10 minutes. Definitely will be well worth it just to make somebody a little bit more comfortable. Next thing we'll talk about is charging. Now, when they gave me the car, like I said, there's a lot of assumption that I knew what I was doing. They never asked me if I've driven an EV before. They never asked if I had any experience with it. So when it came down to charging, I was like, okay, well, shoot, I forgot. I'm like, do they even include the cable? Do they even include the adapter? So I didn't even know if they did or not until I kind of went through the car just to check, because I already know. But yes, they did include a mobile adapter. It's at the very bottom of the trunk space here. It was just kind of tossed into the back of the car, not rolled up or anything. And then luckily enough, yes, there was an adapter. So there's a mobile adapter that was at the very bottom, but unless you know what to do with it, you are kind of lost. You're like, do I just plug it in anywhere? If you go to supercharger, then you can direct plug in. But if you don't, like me, I went to a charge point, you need that adapter. How do I use the adapter? Where do I use them at? Talk to me about some of the third-party ones. I just think there's definitely some, again, some things that need to be said for new drivers, new renters about these things. Because if you roll up to a charge point or roll up to an EVgo or something like that, and you assume that I can just plug in and you don't really know you need an adapter, then you're gonna be sitting there, trying to Google it, trying to YouTube it, and trying to figure it out. Now, when you rent your Tesla, you actually do get a little key card, which makes sense. Being that I owned one already, it was kind of funny because I was not used to actually using the key card. I would normally have everything hooked up to my mobile app. I don't believe that using your mobile app was an option here. At least they didn't mention it to me if it was or not. So, I can't really blame them for that, but they do give you this card to unlock the car. What's funny is that because I've driven these before, there's a bunch of times where I just walk away from the car, leaving it unlocked because I'm so used to using my mobile phone and having it lock and unlock as I walk away. So if you are an existing Tesla driver and you do rent the car, just make sure you lock it, because you might just be like me and assume it's going to lock with your mobile phone, but it wasn't connected to my mobile phone. You got to use the key card. Now, when it came to range of the car, I couldn't really do too much of a comparison because I hadn't driven it enough to see oh my God, it's draining X amount of percentages, it's draining X amount of miles. So I can't really do that. When I picked up the car though, it only had 91% battery on it. Now, when you rent a traditional car, normally they'd be like, oh, we have a full tank. When you bring it back as a full tank. Well, I have 90% here. So what do? Do I bring it back full charge? Do I bring it back with, something else and they're gonna charge me the difference? None of that was mentioned to me, so I don't know exactly how that works. I'm not sure if they're gonna charge me, a certain amount to charge it back up. Do I bring it back with 90%? Because the one thing that's weird is that there's not too many superchargers out here. So in order for you to charge it back up to say 90% again, I'd have to do that fairly close to the airport. And as far as superchargers go in the area, there's not too many. There's one on the way from the airport to Breckenridge, and then there's where I stopped. I actually stopped over in Silverthorne. Now, being from San Diego, I'm not always using some of the features that are on the Tesla, which are really good for conditions like this, snowy conditions, where you're kind of going a little bit off-road in a way, where you might get stuck here. When we were here we had the car sitting for 2 nights, the car was dumped on, it was kind of stuck in the snow. What's nice to know is that there are a couple settings in here that it would have been cool if they would mention some of them, knowing that we were renting the car to go to the mountains. Now, if you go over here to pedals, so if you go to the Tesla icon down here at the bottom, then you go over to pedals and steering. If you go down here at the very bottom, there's a couple options here. off-road assist, as well as slip start. Now, off-road assist, if you click on that, it says it'll adjust your traction control to optimize performance off-road. Some autopilot features such as automatic emergency braking and lane departure are not available. But good to know that it's there. So if you wanted to use that, that's there, as well as slip start. So slip start helps you free the vehicle if it's stuck in snow, sand, or mud. But a lot of people wouldn't know in general that those options even exist. So I think that's what's one thing it would have been nice to have someone explain to you. Yes, you know what, you are taking it to the mountains. Here are a couple of settings you might want to look at, test it out while you're there. So one tip too, again, just inform the driver, inform that new driver that you do have these options on the Tesla. All right, so what's my final thoughts? Well, being an owner, everything went fine because I knew what to do. And also it was nice to be able to test out the Tesla in elements like this. I'm not able to do that. I'm from San Diego, so I'm driving on nice and dry roads 95% of the time. If not, it'll be raining. But it's nice to be able to test out the capabilities of the car in these types of conditions. Now, when it comes down to the rental experience, again, I think Hertz is very traditional. They just rented the car the exact same way they rent all the other cars, which can be good for them, but I think it's not a good thing to do for someone new to EVs. This is not a traditional car. The way it performs is not traditional. The way you control things is not the same. The way you charge it is not the same. So for them to just send an email checklist, I think was a pretty, that's what you call bare minimum at the very least. This might be their very first EV experience. It might be the very first time they're even stepping into a Tesla. And for them to just get a checklist, I think is definitely not enough. You need to be able to make a video and say, hey, welcome to Hertz, rent a car, and welcome to renting your first Tesla. Let's go through with you some of the basics. Make a video of it, make it once, attach it to that checklist email, and then you should be good to go there. As far as the car itself goes, it's been handling like a champ. There were some areas right over here, actually in the front of our hotel, where I did lose traction a little bit, but it looked like everyone else was too, so it did break the tires. I was sliding just a tad over there. It's just one of those things you're like, oh man, is a Tesla supposed to handle this or not? But everyone else was, so I didn't feel too bad. But it's been a great ride driving in the snow. Haven't had too many issues. I definitely want to try this again. Like I mentioned, overall it was okay because of the fact I'm already used to the car, but there's definitely a ton of room for improvement for them to make the entire experience from reservation to drop off to pick up, and then jumping in the car, having possibly somebody just give you a 5-minute quick rundown. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys if you're looking at renting a car or renting a Tesla from Hertz. Just make sure you not only read that checklist they send you, hopefully they send it to you, but also just go online and watch a bunch of videos that give you some tips when you're going out there to charge your car, how to drive in conditions like this in snow. A lot of videos out there for you to watch. So make sure you guys do that research before you get out. As always, if you guys got some value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. This is also Saucio, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.